guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I'm covering Ladies of London, Season 1, Episode 6, New Allegiances. Woo, this was such a good episode. I'm so excited to get into it with you. I'm loving the rewatch of the series, and I can't wait to talk about it with you. So let's get into it. We pick up where the last episode left off. They're at the Summer Lodge in Dorset. The ladies are all hungover from drinking the night before. They're hanging out in Noelle's room. It's revealed that Caprice, of course, in the last episode said she was going home with Annabelle and Julie, but she didn't tell these ladies. Juliette says, I'm trying to call Caprice's room, and they told me she checked out. The ladies are surprised. They thought they were riding, that she was riding back with them. Juliette says, no, she's not here. She left with Annabelle and Julie. Caroline says, it's probably got something to do with me. And to camera, Caroline says, Caprice is jealous. I've become such good friends with the Americans. Juliette says, I have to say, since moving to London, I've never seen so many people that play to be friends, but talk more crap about each other behind their backs. Caroline says it's very British. And Marissa, in a shocking turn of events, starts taking up for Caprice. She says there doesn't need to be sides, does there? And Juliette's saying, well, Caprice is a little bit blowing us off. Marissa said she's 7 months pregnant. She got up at 6 a.m. She's probably hormonal. Juliette says, I had more energy when I was pregnant. Marissa says, well, the third trimester is hard. I was tired. Juliette says, she's perfect. She's wonderful. She can do no wrong. Putting down what Marissa's saying. So what are your thoughts on this? I don't know. I'm not a Caprice fan, so I guess I'm on Juliette's side, but Juliette's delivery for everything is really harsh. And I like Marissa, and I don't think it's so much that she was taking up for Caprice. Maybe a little bit it was that, but it was that Juliette was just not attacking, but she's just coming on strong with everything she was saying. And I think it hurt Marissa's feelings, as we'll see in the next scene. So then we go over to the stables, and you guys, the storyline is so hard. It's Annabelle. She's training for the upcoming race for charity, and she's doing it for Alexander. We see how hard she's training. Oh my gosh. We'll get into it later in the episode, but this episode was heartbreaking for her. I really hated seeing this. So they go for a pub lunch at this Acorn Inn in Dorset. And they all sit down. Obviously, there's some unresolved feelings there between Juliette and Marissa. They're kind of being weird with each other. Marissa won't cheers Juliette because she still feels like Juliette is like going after her. So Marissa gets upset and she walks out. She can't do it. She just walks out. So Luke's reaction here is funny because he goes, oh my God. So Noelle goes after her. Marissa's saying, I've had enough of Juliette. I'm sorry. She doesn't listen. I suffer from being overly empathetic if I'm not 100% on her side. So, again, overall, I don't like Caprice, so I'm not on her side with that. But I agree with Marissa here. I think Juliette is tough. And it does seem to be, if you're not 100% Juliette's side, she's rough on you, and that's a hard person to be friends with. So I understand why Marissa freaked out. She ends up back at the table, and they cheers. Well, Juliette starts getting upset. What's interesting here is Noelle says Juliette was thrown into London. She didn't know anybody. Marissa took her under her wing, and says, would they be friends in America? No, probably not. Marissa says, I felt personally attacked. You called me Mother Teresa. Well, again, this is where Juliette gets upset. She walks off crying. Caroline to camera says two grown women absolutely in hysterics over breakfast and champagne, which is pretty funny. Noelle to camera says, Juliette, just stop fighting. Caroline to camera says, Juliette makes a scene everywhere she goes. People won't like that. And Juliette says, I never apologize for my true feelings. I go home knowing I spoke my truth. But somebody like that, that's so gruff, who cares if you speak your truth? If it's mean, like if you're hurting people's feelings, I don't think that's something to be proud of. So I'm going to stop here and tell you I've been operating under the system of not really spoiling stuff, even though I've seen it. I'm sure you guys have too, but just in case I haven't spoiled, I try not to spoil stuff. But I want to talk about this for a second because this is very interesting. So this, of course, is Scott. Scott and Noelle are moving into this apartment, to this flat, together. And if you don't want to hear spoilers, and this gets dark, if you don't want to hear the dark stuff about Scott, please fast forward for a minute. I promise I'll go back to the fun recaps, but I want to talk about this for a second because something crazy happens. So this is your chance. If you don't want to hear this stuff, please fast forward. Otherwise, here we go. So you guys, of course, he's Scott Young, right? We've talked about this. We know this. I have been so curious about how he died at such a young age. So I started looking into it a little bit, and it's wild. So here's the crazy part. Of course, he and Noelle were split at that time, but he was still living at this flat. It sounds like, when it happened. And there's so many things that are, like, you can find on, like, Wikipedia and stuff about him, but the overall theme seems to be allegedly, they talk about this money that he potentially had and hid, and his wife said it was like $1 billion or something crazy. His ex-wife, excuse me. Anyway, so when you look into it, it says that he had business dealing potentially go bad. And it's just so weird and shady. And okay, so he was living at this flat. Noelle had moved out when they separated. Well, he fell out of a window here. And I'm using quotation marks because now that's up in question. There's actually talk that a deal with Russia went bad and he was pushed out of the window and impaled on those spikes right there. And I'm so sorry. I know that's horrible, but when I read that, I was like, what? This is terrible, but I thought he had, like, gotten drunk and falling out of a window or something like that. I had no idea that there was talk of this stuff. But what's weird is there's mention that there was no, like, backup research done. Kind of like they didn't want to know, so they just stopped. So it's just a big question mark of how he died and what happened. That is crazy. That's so sad for him. I hate it. I mean, obviously it's a terrible tragedy. Even if they were split, I'm sure it was tough on Noelle. I don't even need to say all this. It's terrible. But my gosh, that's interesting. I just couldn't believe it when I read that. And at this apartment, supposedly. So there's a bit of weird trivia for you. Again, I'm so sorry I got so dark. I don't normally like to go into that stuff, but that was just fascinating. So, okay, moving on. Spoilers over. Here we go. So, okay, dark stuff over. So they're excited to move in together. Noelle's saying that they've been to hell and back. This is that flat they looked at. It's $10,000 a month. She ends up calling Caprice to check in on her. Tells her about the girls being pissed about her leaving early. That's Noelle stirring the pot. So, Noelle, what you doing? You're playing both sides here. They talk about Caprice's business. And Noelle tells her about this charity event that she's throwing and makes sure she's coming. So then we see Marissa, who is super excited. Marissa is becoming a British citizen today. And her husband, Matt, is going with her. And she's going to be sworn in. And she's nervous, but she's excited about it. And it's a really sweet moment. We see her walking up. I'm assuming they could not film inside. But her husband's there holding her hand. And this meant a lot. I thought it was a really sweet moment. But then he takes her to Claridge's. And I'm American. I didn't know. I thought Claridge's was a store. I Googled it. It's a hotel. It's a fancy hotel, it sounds like. But it's a nice scene. I like seeing this stuff with Marissa and her family. So Matt took her there for a special occasion. And they go in and he presents her with a gift. And he's just celebrating her becoming a British citizen. And she gets these beautiful earrings. And oh my gosh, you guys, I love them. I do. I love them. I'm not even a pink person, but I think they're beautiful. I looked on the website. I couldn't find them, but I can tell you from the website, Fabergé, I've heard of it with the eggs. I didn't even know they made jewelry. It is very expensive jewelry, but they are beautiful earrings. I love them. Fantastic scene with them. So we go over to Caroline's office, and I always love seeing this office. I just think it's just so cool and so her. Juliette's over, and they're laughing about that sign that says "Be nice," and making jokes about that. And then they go try on these beautiful pieces of jewelry. This $45,000 bracelet, as well as these $30,000 earrings. Holy cow. And this $500,000 pearl bracelets. Wow. Anyway, so Caroline is telling her, you moved to England, you have to learn not to jump up and down in public. You're here now. It's not the British way. And Juliette says, I just feel bad. I haven't seen Marissa since she's becoming a citizen. Now I just feel like we need a timeout. They talk about Noelle's charity event being the next day, and that'll be the first time that they're seeing each other. So then that leads into Noelle's charity event the next day. She's fundraising for a charity called Chasing Zero. And I just think it's the coolest. I hadn't heard of this, and I think it's fantastic. She is explaining that it's a new AIDS foundation. It gives vaccine for mothers, and then the kids are born AIDS-free. £500 services 20 women. And so all the women come. They're very generous. It's a silent auction. They're giving money to help this very important, amazing cause. So Caprice and Julie are on their way, and Julie is kind of a mess here. We're gonna look at this outfit a little bit more, but I don't get it. We get to see Jem, who's so handsome, with Caroline, and it's just an important event. Noelle's doing a good job fundraising and talking to everybody. So this is Julie here, and poor Julie, she's very relatable because I think she just always kind of looks a mess. And I feel that way sometimes about myself, so it's just funny. This dress is just, I just don't get it. So what's interesting here is you see how Caroline and Caprice are standing. They're avoiding each other back to back. It's really funny. They're still pissed about this whole baby shower thing. Caprice to camera says, I see Caroline, I'm just not in the mood. We see Marissa wearing my beautiful earrings, talking to Annabelle, and she gets a call, and it's Juliette. So I thought this was a nice moment. Juliette says that she'd love to talk before they go in. So they instantly hug, and they're able to make up. Juliette says, you're the closest girlfriend to me. Marissa says, I was taking a break. I was exasperated. And they explain that sisters fight. They know how to push buttons. Juliette does apologize, and Marissa says it's your execution that was wrong. So we see Caroline and Noelle talking. Caroline's got lots of experience raising money for charity. She does it by email. She was explaining she raised £1.3 million. And it's cool to see that. It's neat that she does so much philanthropic work. So I do feel like Caroline hit the nail on the head with this. So she said it's always the Caprice show. And I think that's what bugged me about Caprice. I understand she's pregnant. Believe me, I've been there. It sucks. But everything does seem to be the Caprice show. It's always over the top. We'll see that in the preview for next week where she's so overwhelmed and tired. Bleh. So we see the Caprice show here. So I think I just kind of got tired of it. That's what I remember from before, and I'm feeling that again. So Caprice asks her, Noelle, if she's annoyed that she left Mapperton early. Noelle says no. I feel like I'm in the middle because I like you and I like her, meaning Caroline. Caprice says, it's done, it's better. They hug. Caroline says, Noelle thinks she needs Caprice to be successful. Sometimes in life you need to pick a side. Caroline goes to leave. She makes a donation. Noelle thanks her, and she makes a joke. Don't let people know I have a heart under this exterior. And then Caprice is just kind of bitchy and gives her a dig and says, okay, we will get you on that, whatever that means. But I guess she's saying, you know, you don't have a heart, whatever it is, who cares? So they're just still at odds. So it's the next day, and we are back at Noelle and Scott's flat. Marissa calls and explains she got a call from Caprice asking if she could do a baby shower in the bumpkin garden. And Marissa's asking if Noelle would like to help with it. So this is the second time we've heard that Caprice is asking people to throw her a baby shower. And if that's true, that's pretty crappy. So she's asking for Noelle's help, and Noelle says absolutely. She says she's headed to Cavalli with Caroline to go shopping. And so we go over to Cavalli, and if you're a fan of Real Housewives of Dallas, I'm laughing because that was always that weirdo Mark Duber's favorite store to shop at. But Caroline is like on first name basis, really good friends with Cavalli. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And they bring over champagne and they're drinking, and she, of course, has Noelle and Juliette come meet her. She makes a funny dig here at Noelle and calls her outfit knockoff Cavalli, which Noelle says, "You bitch." I just love her sense of humor. That's funny. This is where things get interesting because Noelle, not knowing better, or maybe she does, mentions the baby shower that Marissa just called her about to Caroline and Juliette. Well, Caroline is blown away, saying, "After I've been asked to do it." Noelle says, "Wait, sorry, she asked you? Then," and Caroline says, "Yes, you think I would have offered?" Noelle says, "I thought you offered." Caroline to camera says, "She asked me to throw a baby shower, then she retracts it and asks two women in our circle to host it for her. It's the rudest thing I've ever had happen." Wow, that is ballsy to do something like that. So then we see Caroline and Juliette kind of buddying up. Noelle kind of makes a comment about that. Noelle tries on this fabulous dress, and that's pretty much it for the scene. So then we go over to Annabelle, and Annabelle is back at the stables again. And guys, I cannot go through this. This is horrible. We know what happens. It's tragic. She gets very hurt. It's just terrible. So they didn't show the actual moment of impact, but you hear the horrible noises, and my heart breaks for her. It's another tragedy for her, and that's terrible. We see Julie going over to be with her and comfort her, and just the look of pain on her face and sadness, and we know that she's kind of a closed off person. So to see her being this vulnerable, it breaks my heart. There's no nice way to cover this. So it's tragic, and so that's it for the episode. That's how it ends. We see a flash to next time. We see Caprice being Caprice, having Caprice moments and a meltdown. I'll give her a little bit of a pass for being pregnant, but mostly she's annoying. We see Annabelle and Caroline. Caprice is bringing up this baby shower thing with Noelle again, and then Noelle is kind of playing both sides, it looks like, because she runs straight back to Caprice and says, "Caroline's giving me a hard time about this baby shower." So it's going to come to a head, and we see that Caroline has enrolled them all in etiquette class, and then she has a very fancy dinner at her house, and it looks like Caprice crashes. So I can't wait to see what happens. I thought it was a great episode, kind of sad, dark in parts, but still a good episode. Loving covering this season. I'm going to keep going with it. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Leave comments below. I read them all. Leave me comments here. You can comment on my Twitter. I'm at Real Recaps. And I thank you so much for watching. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks again. Bye-bye.